Swim so free.
The Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tune In Next Week. This is episode number 26 of Tune In Next Week. We are the podcast that breaks apart TV shows from yesteryear and talks about them for all of you wonderful people out there. And this podcast could not happen without my good buddy Brian, my co-host. How are you, sir?
Feeling good, John. Feeling good. A little excited. You could say I'm a little excited to talk about this show, this episode.
Let me tell you, man, from that theme song on, I was totally excited to do this show. Because you know me, I'm a sucker for theme songs. Sometimes I belabor the subject of bad theme songs, but you know me and my theme songs.
Yeah, you're a big fan of this theme song.
Yes. Yeah, because I don't know, I love funk and disco and that kind of thing, man. I mean, for me, disco never dies.
I'm the opposite. Funk doesn't do it for me.
Hey, man, that's all good.
I appreciate the things that funk has influenced there.
Sure.
I'm not largely I'm not a fan of funk.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that for you, there are no cheers in that kind of thing.
No.
You get where I'm going with
I
that.
do. I see where you're coming from.
Listen to our Cheers podcast if you're curious what I'm talking about. But yeah, so for those who didn't recognize the theme song or who didn't read the show notes, this is CHiPS.
CHiPS!
Now, you asked me a very interesting question before we got started. What was that?
This show is called CHiPS, and while I was familiar with the show, I've always known about it. It's been referenced multiple times in pop culture, and it's just a very well-known, very beloved show. It stands for California Highway Patrol, but the show is called CHiPS with an I, lowercase I.
Right.
What does the I stand for in CHiPS?
Evidently, nothing.
I hate that.
Yeah, but evidently the I stands for nothing, and there's no S in CHiPS. Well, I guess S is just pluralizing it, but like if they didn't put the I in there, it would have just been CHiPS. So I guess people just put the I in there to make it more marketable. And maybe that's why they put it lowercase. Because CHP is California Highway Patrol, so I guess they put the I in there so it wasn't just this awkward series of consonants.
And this is me not fact-checking, not doing my research, which is par for the course. But I would have hoped that they would have at least addressed it in the show, at least throw in just a line or a scene to maybe justify the I and the S in CHiPS.
They very well may have earlier on in the series, because we watched season 4 episode 12, so they might have mentioned it, or I might even go so far as to say it might have just been like a kind of like a local not a term of endearment, but like like a local nickname that people had for those people in uniform,
right.
Like instead of calling them, when you see a law enforcement officer, we call them cops, but cop doesn't mean anything as far as I know.
It does. Constable on patrol.
Oh, there we go. Because here I was thinking of the Police Academy movie Citizen on Patrol, but yeah. I guess it's the same kind of deal. Citizens on patrol, constable on patrol. But there's the little meanings here and there with all that stuff. But I'm guessing it was as far as the I in CHiPS, it was either a local thing or something that the the show's marketing department just did that because they didn't want to pitch a show to a network and say, yeah, we got this great idea for a new show. It's called CHiPS, which sounds like opening a soda can.
But
you know?
see, even though it stands for California Highway Patrol, the title of the show is CHP. You can still say CHiPS. You don't have to throw the I and the S in there. For me, it makes me feel like, well, the I and the S stand for something, or maybe just the I stands for something.
If they, what could they possibly stand for?
Ignorant.
Okay.
Ignorance. And I'll tell you why. Because of the scene with the little kid. Just
Well, that, and also
rude.
When Baker first shows up to the guy with the flat tire, doesn't even say hi, and we'll get into this, but you know, he just comes off like Officer Douchebag.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. Let's get into that. We won't get too far ahead of ourselves.
We're getting ahead of
here.
ourselves. We have so much to do before we do that. You know.
Oh my God.
This
show.
We got to do the synopsis. We got to do the history of the show. We got to do the briefcase. I mean, we got lots to do.
All right.
So we're doing CHiPS, season 4, episode 12, originally aired. Oh, sorry, season 4, episode 12. Home Fires Burning. That's the name of the episode, and originally aired on February 1st, 1981. A few months before I was born.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Well, a few months. I said not minutes, but thank you. So CHiPS ran for 6 seasons from 1977 to 1983, over 6 years, 139 episodes plus 1 movie.
The reunion movie, right?
I don't know.
I think it came out in 1999.
I know that there was a
serves.
CHiPS 99 or there was a remake of some variety that I'm guessing didn't do too well.
I was aware of a reunion episode, and now that may have been the movie, but there was some sort of reunion where the entire cast got together, or a majority of the cast got back together.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That definitely wouldn't surprise me because I know I've heard of talks of reunions for other shows too.
Right.
And I don't know. I think we might have mentioned this on our emergency podcast, but there were some sort of cross visiting episodes too. You know, like the guys from Squad 51 and Emergency were on a couple of episodes of CHiPS.
Yeah, I think
I mentioned that on the other one.
I think you did mention that.
Yeah. Just chalk that up to my wonderful short-term memory.
Right.
I'm telling you, if I didn't take notes on some of these things, we'd be screwed. And it would be like a 3-minute podcast because I'd be like, dude, that was a great episode. Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah.
All right. Tune in next week.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, because I can't tell you how many times I've told you about, you know, stupid things that I've told you about a number of times. Gotta love it. Gotta love getting old.
Moving along, though, this episode was directed by Chuck Bale. It was written by Judith Dark and Rex Benson, and it was created by Rick Rosner. Now,
just a random question: was this show a spin-off of something else, or was this a spin-off of something, or did something spin off of this show? Do you know, or did you see in your research? I didn't come up with anything.
I didn't come up with anything either.
So it was its own thing.
Yeah,
okay.
It was its own thing, and as far as I know, the creator hasn't really done much else after CHiPS. I mean, he did a made-for-TV movie called Panic in the Skies, but really beyond that, it's just CHiPS. All he's known for is CHiPS.
I feel like I might have seen that because I enjoy watching kind of those obscure made-for-TV movies. You know, there's one called Disaster on the Coastliner, which is about a guy who hijacks an Amtrak train, and I want to say Lloyd Bridges is in it, and a few other people are in it. But it was, you know, this random made-for-TV movie from like the late 70s. You know, I love stuff like that. Anyway, so we got a plot synopsis here. As part of an insurance scam, arsonists start burning down mobile homes, causing chaos for John and Ponch. Meanwhile, they prepare for a basketball game. And interestingly enough, it took us a while to even find that plot synopsis. It seemed like everything was like 4 words.
Yeah,
you know, but
one sentence synopsis.
Yeah, but quite a bit happened in this episode.
Yeah, this is chock full of plot lines, subplots. This was a busier episode than I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, lots of plot lines and lots of cheesy lines too. And where can people get their fill of CHiPS?
You can order DVDs. DVDs are still available. You can also stream it on Amazon Video as well as iTunes.
Or if you're a glutton for punishment, you can watch them on YouTube,
Yes.
scene by scene.
Yeah, so
What is up with that?
I'm sure as of this recording, you can watch full episodes of CHiPS. However, they're broken up, and I believe this is a way to get around maybe licensing or something. So, by the time you hear this, or maybe after, this isn't going to be the case anymore. But an example of this is I was looking for ways to watch CHiPS, and I went to YouTube and I found full episodes, full seasons. However, they were split up by scene. So, for example, there was an episode of CHiPS, Season 3, Episode 11, Scene 1, which comes out to about 14 seconds. And then Scene 2, a separate video, about 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
I think I know why they did that.
Why is that?
For people in first-year film school to somehow download the videos and practice editing.
That's very possible.
Ridiculous and possible. I would probably go with more ridiculous than anything, but I was just thinking of why the hell would that make any sense, and I was like, the only possible reason I could make sense is to people to edit them. But then again, you can't really download videos from YouTube anyway, so let's just edit that part out. So yeah, who knows why they're up there in scenes, but hey, you can do it if you want to try to catch it, You'll
have a better time just getting an episode on iTunes or Amazon.
Yeah, I completely agree. Speaking of something that has nothing to do with what I just said, we got to crack open the briefcase real quick.
It's time for some business.
I think it is. So we can't forget our business without saying thanks to the folks over at JB Recording. That's the recording studio where we prepare these lovely podcasts for all of you lovely people. And so for any voiceover, music, or podcast production needs, please visit www.jbrecording.com, and you can certainly make use of their services from anywhere in the country. You can follow us, the Tune In Next Week podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and a number of other places. Our main base of operations, though, is Tumblr, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. You can connect with us there. Follow us on Twitter at tunein_nextweek. Also Instagram at tunein_nextweek. You can listen into us through a number of different places, and all the links for the various places that we're on here are on our website, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. But you can tune into us on iTunes. You can tune into us on SoundCloud. Our username on there, tunein_nextweek. Sorry, tunein_nextweek on SoundCloud. We are also on the TuneIn app, which is a great place for listening to internet radio content. So go on tunein.com, search for TuneIn Next Week. We're also on Podbean, which is a podcast directory, so we're over there too. And we're trying to get ourselves up on YouTube, but you can certainly help us out by subscribing to us on our YouTube channel. The link is obviously on our website, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. But we can't get a nice, easy-to-remember YouTube name until we get 100 people subscribing to us, so we can certainly use your help. So please subscribe to us on YouTube and help us out there. So that's about it on the business. Shall we jump into the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
So this starts out with an aerial shot of the police station parking lot.
Well, but before we do that, what is your experience with CHiPS?
I've never seen a single episode of this show. Like I mentioned before, I knew about it. I've heard about it referenced from other shows, other sources of media. I've heard about it, but yeah, never saw this episode.
Okay.
Or this show at all. I know about Eric Estrada and how awesome he is. He was in. I really got into him because of his voice work on the animated show C-Lab 2021.
Oh, I didn't know he was on that.
Adult Swim show. Yeah,
nice.
He's pretty much a caricature of himself on that show.
That's cool.
But
yeah.
I
think his picture on IMDb is pretty scary looking, though.
Scary, I think it's hilarious.
It's funny, scary but funny.
Yeah.
I would say that my experience with CHiPS is just kind of like I would stumble on it while channel surfing. I know my brother watched it a lot when we were younger, so, if it was on, I'd kind of just hang out in the room and watch it too. So I've seen a handful of episodes, but, probably just enough to know that the two guys were, Ponch and Baker, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've had any recollection of any singular episode that was better than any others or anything like that. So, picking this one was certainly, we just kind of picked it out of thin air almost.
Yeah. Based off of this watching of the episode and knowing what this show is now, back then I would not have watched this show.
Really?
Yes, and in the future, I would only watch future episodes ironically.
Interesting.
I don't like this show. Don't like it. I would not recommend it.
It's, what it is? If there was nothing else on, I would watch it.
Yeah.
I would, but there were some things that even I didn't expect that came out of this episode.
Yeah,
so let's jump right in because I really want to talk about this episode.
I do too. This was an enjoyable watch.
It was very entertaining.
Yes, but yeah. So we have a top-down shot of the police station parking lot, and then we go into like a hallway scene where officers Ponch and John, they talk about a charity basketball game. One of the original walk and talks.
Oh yeah, and then there's some commotion that's going on in the locker room. And apparently this is a co-ed locker room?
Yes, I was going to say that. I wrote that down. Like,
yeah.
There's men and women in this locker room.
Yeah. Now, for the record, maybe this wasn't necessarily, and maybe I'm just not looking at this right, but apparently it might have not been like the locker room where you get changed. It could have just been where you put your shit, but I'm guessing why wouldn't you get changed there anyway? But yeah, I was surprised to see it being a co-ed locker room.
John Baker did get changed in that locker room. So the not the captain, who is the dude, the sergeant,
Gussie, whatever that.
Grossy.
There we go.
Yes. So he was standing up on a bench.
Because he was the coach of this
he was
basketball team they were putting together.
Everybody was rattling around him, and
right.
He's like, quiet, everybody. I've got an announcement to make. Here's my announcement. Deal with it. Have a good day. And he left, and everybody else follows out behind him. And then Baker proceeds to get undressed, and Estrada is just lays out on the bench.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to take a couple of days off, which explains why we don't really see very much of Ponch in the episode. Which
was disappointing. This is a very Eric Estrada light episode.
Yeah. I was kind of bummed about that because I know, Ponch is pretty funny.
Yeah, and I liked him. I liked every second he was in the episode.
Yeah.
I was into it.
Yeah. I mean, I would be interested to watch another episode to see how he was as a cop when he was out with Baker because, Baker kind of came off a little bit like a prick.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see if Ponch was a little bit less pricky. But anyway, we go to our sort of first call, and this is with, and I had an issue with this right away, but there's a guy with a flat tire. Now, have you ever had a flat tire while you were driving?
Not while I was driving, but
or, I mean, like just while you were out and about,
yes.
You get a flat and you have to pull over the side of the road.
Several times. It's usually I come out to a flat tire or I get a nail or something into it, and then it goes flat while I'm out and about. But I have had flat tires. I've never had the experience where I've had to pull over and change a flat tire. It's always been in parking lots, driveways.
Right. Okay.
Like
That's good. Because I've had a couple of times where I've gotten flats. Thankfully I've always been able to get somewhere safe. So I've never I can't say that I've had to pull over on the side of a highway. The most recent flat tire I had was a few years ago, but I was able to make it all the way to work. And then I left my car parked in the mall parking lot where I worked, and somebody came and I think my brother actually came and changed my tire. So thanks Tom, appreciate that.
Appreciate you, Tom.
That's right. No, seriously, he's good guy.
No,
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Expert tire changer person, by the way. But anyway, so that was the last time I can remember that. But I do remember it affecting the handling of the car, but not to where it would have had my car looking like the car in this scene. So this guy has a flat tire. His car is basically perpendicular to the flow of traffic. The ass end of the car is sticking out completely in the lane. Mm-hmm. And his right rear tire was flat. So to me, he should have been able to maintain control of the car, pull over to the side, possibly even get on the shoulder, and be a lot safer about it. Instead, no. What does he do? He probably swings out wide to the left, then cuts it all the way to the right, and parks with his front wheels off the road and his ass end of the car completely blocking the flow of traffic.
Yeah, it's like as soon as he realized, oh, flat tire, he just turned hard right and stopped as soon as...
So stupidly staged. So horribly staged. Either that or the guy was a moron. But then again, when he started talking to the cops, you can kind of tell he was a moron. But so Baker rolls up on this, and because he may have been called because of the traffic jam, and just walks up to him, doesn't even say anything, doesn't say hello, doesn't say, are you okay, are you injured, nothing like that. He goes, you mind moving your car? Like, fuck you, dude, I could have been hurt. I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive or whatever, but I would hope that somebody would just show up and not just jump right into I'm going to be an asshole mood. Could have been at least like, are you okay, sir?
Well,
because he could have been injured. If the tire blew out, could have lost control, whatever.
The guy who owned the car was in the trunk, standing around, getting at the spare tire.
Yeah.
So he was all right enough to be walking around and digging around in his tire, or digging around in the trunk. So, I mean, I'm all for respect and courtesy and all that good stuff. However, the ass end of your car is out in the middle of this highway, and cars are dangerously veering around,
right,
or having to dangerously swerve around this guy.
Right.
And he's at the back of his car in the trunk, so he's out putting himself in danger.
Right.
Yes, it was rude of Baker to just come up, or the way he put it to the citizen, it was kind of abrupt when he came out and say, hey, you want to move your car? But the guy was standing in the middle of the road.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I totally get it. I'm not necessarily saying Baker was wrong. I'm just saying I think it would have been more polite for him to be a little bit more cordial. But that's just me.
Let me put this to you. Same scenario.
Yep.
Guy's car is ass end out in the middle of the road. He's standing in his trunk open, digging around for the tire changing materials and stuff.
Right.
Cop comes up, says, hey man, how you doing? Is everything okay? Meanwhile, cars are swerving around him. Doing okay? Everything's fine?
I would not necessarily say that's appropriate either. I'm just saying somewhere in the middle of what you just said and what I said.
All right.
Like just him coming up being like, sir, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Cool. I really need you to move your car because we have a problem going on here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overreading. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but that's kind of the purpose of the podcast, right?
Yeah, but this guy is an asshole though. He's like, are you kidding? I'm not moving my car and ruin these $100 radials.
Isn't a radial a name for a tire? Isn't it, or is he referring to the hubcap or the wheel?
I assume, based off of the context of the conversation, the guy is not trying to bend his rims by driving on the car more.
Yeah, but you can drive 3 feet on something like that.
Oh, of course.
Nice and slow, and you're not going to do any damage.
Of course, yeah. You've got, granted, the weight of the car is on the rim at this point, but it's slightly cushioned by the rubber of your tire.
Exactly. And you're not going very far. You're literally going far enough to turn your wheels and get your ass end of the car out of the road.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he finally moves his car, and of course he's asking the police officers to change the tire for him.
Yeah.
And I thought this response was even more douchey. They're like, no, we have a basketball game tonight. We got to save our hands. I was like, wow, I would never say that to somebody like that. I could see them saying it for like comedic purposes or just kidding, but I don't know. That would really piss me off if I was the guy with the tire and the cops were like, nope, sorry, I can't change your tire. Got a basketball game I got to play tonight. I'd be like, well, fuck you then. Go away.
I would have left that detail out, but
yes.
the citizen was was very rude.
He was.
And so I would have been like, no, you can change it yourself, or I can call service for you.
Yeah, that I probably would have said something more along those lines. I can certainly get someone out here to change that for you, or you can change it yourself. I wouldn't have gone the basketball thing.
I personally like the fact that they threw it in his face like that.
Oh yeah,
gonna be a dick. All right,
for the entertainment value of the show, I agree with you. But then I found it kind of funny. The cops left.
Yeah.
Don't they normally stay there to make sure that the person is safe, and then they get everything changed and then they leave? Is it customary for them to stay there the whole time?
Well, I've never had a cop. I was in one accident where a cop had to show up. But they, to my recollection, they come and once they make sure everything is in order and everything's good to go, there's no reason for them to sit around. But
I would think him being on such a major street, even though he was pulled off to the side and traffic could still get around him, the traffic was still having to veer into the other lane and so forth a little bit. So I would think that the cops should have stayed there until the guy had changed his tire and was on his way, so that the road operations were back to normal. That would have been my take on it. But like you said, the situation was safe. The guy was, I guess, going to wait for a tow truck person to come and change the tire, and it was the right rear tire, which was now safely off the road, not facing traffic. So I guess it makes sense that they left.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, while all this is happening, these two guys pulling a trailer drive past, and these two guys are in a blue van, and they're pulling a trailer, and the camera goes inside the van, and the one guy's like, are we gonna have a problem? Because there's two cops over there. We don't want the cops to see us.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, nah, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. And then they kind of just go away and do their thing. So it kind of sets something up that like these two guys are up to no good.
Yeah. So they go and they drop they're pulling an RV. They drop the RV on the side of the road, and then they peel out, drive away. And I thought it was pretty funny that the camera pans out as the van speeds away. On the opposite lane, there's a convertible driving with a bunch of teenagers kind of just sitting up on the back of a convertible, on the back seat of a convertible, like hands up in the air, like, woo!
That's illegal, isn't it?
It's very illegal.
Yeah, they're totally not seatbelted in or anything.
Yeah. But so they drive past, and the second they drive past the RV, another car drives up on the opposite side of the road, and then the RV doesn't burn down like they say. It explodes.
Yeah, we're talking like C4 massive explosion.
This thing
it vaporizes.
Explodes. You've got debris. You've got splinters of wood everywhere. This is crazy.
Yeah. The whole point of these arsonists that we find out that they're arsonists, the whole point being they are intending to burn something down. They obliterate this trailer.
Yeah, gone.
Completely obliterated. And then pretty much as soon as that happened, we go right into our porn music intro.
Porn music?
Yeah,
it's very porny, yeah.
It's so porny. If you were to take out the main theme song and you would just have that groove just kind of playing, just that like on loop. It's so porny.
I'd sex to that.
I figured you might. Yeah, but it's a great theme song. It's awesome, and like we were talking about before. I really enjoy that style of music, and right after we finished the episode, we were talking about kind of what was our highlights and lowlights, which we'll talk about later. But I love that kind of music, and I would love to have a drummer, a bass player, and a guitar player on a flatbed just following me around whenever I'd be driving, and then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, hit it, guys. Like I could cruise to that all friggin' day, and I can't forget the horn section. We need a horn section on there too.
Would you prefer the live band rather than just that
totally a live band?
Yeah,
because they can jam on that for a while and just be like, all right, hit it. They could play this for hours. You know, everybody take a solo, you know, like turn it into like a 40-minute jam. So going over to the supermarket instead of just like driving, it turns into this like, you know, cruise moment.
So you would...
I would totally have a live band.
You would have everyone around you be subject to your theme music as well.
Yes.
Right. Did you ever see that Family Guy episode where Peter had his own theme music?
No, I don't watch Family Guy.
You should check out. They do it. They have a lot of Family Guy bits available on YouTube. That's something that you might want to check out because
right.
It goes the way that you imagine it. Like
Right.
But then there's some people that are like, what the fuck? Turn off your theme music. Turn off your theme. I can't. It's my theme music. And then they wind up, yeah, well, I'll let you watch it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll watch it. But
Yeah.
no, I would love to have that following me around. I just think it would be hilarious. Okay, so that being the case, we got our theme song. Now we're back after the credits at the scene of the explosion, which now there's just like little piddly fires here and there throughout the wreckage, and we got the cops kind of hanging around, and then just one of them randomly says, "Oh, I wonder if that kid saw something."
Yeah,
and there's a random kid on the hill, you know, a little ways away, with his back turned, flying a kite.
He exclaims it though, and it made me laugh out loud. So one of the cops is like, "Oh, I smell gas." It's like, "Yeah, this is probably been the work of an arson or something like that." And then the one guy that you said sees a kid. He says, "Wonder if that kid knows anything." It's like, well, go over and ask him. You don't have to. Don't yell at me.
Yeah, the one guy's like, "Well, you're not going to know, and you won't know unless you go ask him." Like, duh. You know.
I wonder what that kid knows.
Let me go find out. I'll be right back. Like, just shut up and go talk to him. You know.
Yeah.
And then, even better, when they walk up to the kid, the two cops are having a private conversation, which they continue for a brief moment right in front of the kid. And then the one, I think Baker says to the kid, "Hey son, you got a moment?" And then the first thing the kid says,
"Oh, what does he say? What does he say? I don't know from. Oh, okay. So
Baker walks up to the kid and he goes, "Hey son, you got a minute?" And the kid just goes, "Hey, it was two guys in a blue van."
It was two guys in a blue van. I had my back turned from the whole time. That's all I saw. Honest, I was going to get my kite down and go home.
No, he said he was going to go talk to the cops. He's like, I was going to come talk to you, but I was going to get my kite down first.
Right. This kid knows what's up.
Yeah.
You don't trust the police. And to me, it was funny because the cops are like, "Oh, man, look at this kite. This kid's got two..."
They care more about the fucking kite.
They care about the kite. And it's like, "Oh, it's awesome. This kid has the kite.
Sports page and a couple of pencils and string, just like I used to make it."
I know, and they're just all lighthearted about it, and they come up to the kid, but the kid, smartly, is like, "Oh, goddamn, it's the po-po. I mean, just tell him what I know and get out of here."
Yeah.
For a good reason, too.
Then the one cop's like, "Okay, I'm going to need your name and address." And the kid's like, "Sure, no problem." He's totally complying with the cops. And then the other cop goes, "Hey, can I try your kite?"
It didn't quite feel like he was strong-arming the kid for his kite, but I got that impression.
But like,
"Let me get your kite, kid."
Yeah, but I'm like, who gives a fuck about the kite?
Well,
a trailer just exploded and people are injured and there's fire all over the place. And there's, you know, traffic getting diluted, and you're up on the top of a hill flying a freaking homemade kite, dude. Where are your priorities?
Not only that, he loses the goddamn kite.
I thought he broke it, or
he
screwed it up.
He broke the string, so he's trying to reel it in, and he did it way too hard. Snapped the twine. The kite flew away and hit the front of the grill of a car.
Oh yeah,
and was driven away.
Right.
So it would have made my life if this kite caused an accident.
Oh yeah.
Again, so not only are the cops shaking down and roughing up this kid, but they're stealing his toy and causing more havoc.
What an asshole!
Yeah, so the accident didn't happen, but the kite did get
destroyed.
And
we later found out they gave the kid $5, which
they did. I didn't see that.
Yeah, right when they got into the gym, because it was Baker and Grossi that were talking to him, and they both arrived at the gym together, and one of them, I forget which one said it, but one of them said, "Do you think $5 for a homemade kite was pretty steep?"
Yes.
And the other one agreed with him. But I mean, shit, $5 aside, you fucked up a kid's kite. I mean, like, I would have bought him another one.
Yeah.
You know, I would have said, hey, let me make it up to you, because he made that kite out of the newspaper and whatnot. I mean, now he's got to go make it again. I would have at least gone to the hobby store or something and bought him a nice one.
It would be hilarious to me in a later episode if this kid comes back up as a drug addict because of the money given to him by Grossi was used to buy heroin, and now this kid's life is spiraling down and out of control because this cop strong-armed his toy away from him and ruined his life.
That would be hilariously spectacular.
But
not that I'd ever wish that on somebody.
No,
that would be ironic as hell.
Yeah. But before we get too far away from the kid, during this scene, we're introduced to a new plot point.
Right.
Frank and Muriel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we cannot forget about Frank and Muriel.
Domestic violence.
Holy
just
shit. Okay.
Hovering on the edges here.
Okay, so before we proceed beyond the accident scene and the debacle with the kite, we see this older couple driving past really slow, rubbernecking in their pickup truck. You know, rubbernecking at the scene of the crime, which I cannot stand rubbernecking. It's just ridiculous and stupid.
If you want to see a train wreck, if you want to see car accidents, go on the internet.
Google that. You know, Google that shit when you have time and you're not driving a car and slowing down 500,000 other people behind you.
You are traffic if you're doing that.
Yes.
You are causing traffic.
You're part of the problem. Ugh. Yes. So that's our little PSA for today. You know, help stop rubbernecking by not slowing down to look for body parts at an accident. That being said, so we meet Frank and Muriel, who are a little subplot, and I don't know about you, but Frank looked old enough to be Muriel's dad.
Yeah, I didn't expect the husband and wife relationship that it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was like,
I mean, she's clearly a gold digging hoe. She's clearly a gold digging hoe that missed the mark on picking someone to dig gold from. Because she looked way too young to be dating him.
Yeah.
Or married to him.
Yeah, I guess I didn't pick up on the fact that she was a gold. I mean, it was obvious from her what she was. She would rather, instead of going on a fishing trip like that where they were going,
right?
She was more interested in restaurants, souvenirs, Disneyland.
Right.
She wanted to be wined and dined, but the point of humor in this scene was, oh no, we're pulling our trailer and we're going fishing and there's nothing you can do about it. And she starts complaining, yeah, well, I'd rather be at a restaurant. And he just gives this evil, maniacal laughter.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, bitch, this time we're doing what I want to do.
Yeah, setting up the scene, because this is not the first time this happens in this episode, but just getting us started seeing that Frank is a complete asshole. I
don't think he's a complete asshole. I really don't. I think she's the asshole, and because this harkens back to Family Matters.
Okay.
Where everybody, whenever they go on vacation, they do what everybody else wants to do, and Carl never gets to do what he wants to do. So the Winslows, or Harriet in particular, says, you know what, let's do what Carl wants to do. And then what happens, but they eventually do what Carl wants to do. In this episode of CHiPS, it really feels like they've always gone on Muriel-style vacations, and this is the first time they get to do what Frank wants to do, and she hates it. She fucking hates it. Can't stand the fact that they're not spending any money, and Frank just and she says, I hate you, Frank. I hate you. And he just laughs more and more. So I'm on Frank's side. I don't see him as the asshole. I see him getting to finally do the vacation that he wants to do and is not forced into doing whatever his wife wants to do every vacation.
You've sold me, my friend. You have sold me. No, I see Frank as being a prick.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to downgrade him from asshole to prick.
Yes, I'm with you there. He, of course, you shouldn't rub your wife's face in it.
Exactly. Yeah. But, so, you know, being a bit of a prick, I'll say that, but I really like your connection to Family Matters, so I can see that. I can certainly see that. Okay, so now we're over at the gym.
Yes, we're at the gym now.
And Grossi and Baker arrive, and they're getting ready for practice. No, the tryouts for this basketball team. Dude, could they wear their shorts any higher?
I loved it. They were in practice attire, so they weren't in any uniform or anything like that.
Dude, they were wearing their shorts at Urkel height.
Well, this is the 80s. This is the late 70s, early 80s, and these were the smallest shorts. The only way they could have been shorter is if Daisy Duke was on the team. These shirts were half shirts. They look like Baby Gap shirts. Open at the sleeves.
Right. Now, well, some people were wearing half shirts and exposing their stomachs, but then, like Grossi, for example, had his shirt tucked in to his shorts that were up under his armpits. So, like, I was like, I don't get it.
Awful. But I loved it. I loved it at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm holding back certain thoughts, and I'm doing that just for certain reasons.
All right. But
very unbecoming of a gentleman.
Absolutely.
I think that's probably the best way I could put it.
Absolutely.
But,
who are they playing, by the way? They're playing.
That's the thing. I couldn't tell because I thought it was going to be like another precinct or another group of cops. That's what I thought it was.
The opening scene where Poncho and Baker are talking about it, it sounds like they're doing this because Poncho doesn't want to be wiped out. He doesn't want to be beaten by anybody because he's very competitive. He's very athletic.
Right. So it was my understanding that they were going up against
underprivileged kids.
Was it underprivileged kids? I thought it was either underprivileged kids or...
This is a charity game.
Right. Or I thought they were going up against another precinct of cops that was not as good as them or something. I'm not sure. We might have to revisit that. Or we might have to look at it.
Fuck fact checking.
Screw it.
Okay, yeah. I was under the impression they were playing underprivileged children.
Okay. Or they were, or we'll just say for the sake of moving on, they were playing a team that they were not evenly skilled matched with.
Yes.
That's probably the best way I could put it. But
that's for sure.
Yeah. But such is not the case because the group that comes into play is like they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, trick shots, the whole nine.
Yeah. All black people. They all come in and they are all highly organized, highly skilled. They do a bunch of jump shots, trick shots, and the cops, they all come back around and is that Michael Dorn that's in this episode?
Yep, Michael Dorn is one of the California Highway Patrol officers, Officer Jebediah something or other,
wearing a beautiful mustache.
Oh yeah,
if I may say so.
Porn stash?
Yeah, definitely a porn stash.
I call it a porn stash. It fits the theme.
It's on par with Michael Selleck.
Oh yeah, sport that porn stash. All right, anyway.
So they all gather back around and they say, "What do you think, Michael Dorn?" I forget what the cop's name.
He said it was something like they're all black and tall or something.
Yeah, they're all black and tall, but we can take them. And they all look at him for a second, then they all go, just a cheesy 80s.
This was chock full of cheese.
Yeah.
You know, like, honestly, I don't think I need to eat any more cheese for the rest of my life. I got it all in this episode. So that practice kind of that practice kind of ends, and now we're over at a lot. We're at like an RV storage lot.
Yes.
And these couple of guys are looking at an RV for sale.
The guys from the first scene, the guys that dropped off the RV and blew it up.
Right. So they are now looking at an RV marked for sale with this guy, Mr. Evans. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Evans is revealing some important facts like, I still owe about $10,000 on it. It's insured for $20,000. So you can just take over the payments and it can be yours. So these guys are like, okay, well, great. And they exchange phone numbers and they say, okay, we'll be in touch. Mm-hmm. Have a nice day. So they leave seeming not interested. And that this scene was ridiculous. They get in the van. The one guy goes, are we kissing off the better part of 10 grand?
Yeah.
And then the other dude looks at him and blows him a kiss. I'm like, what? What the hell just happened here?
Just unnecessary.
What was that?
He was, yeah.
Are we kissing this off?
It made me uncomfortable.
Me too, a little bit. Just a little bit. Only because it was just so out of place.
Yeah.
So now we're over on the side of the road
with Frank and Muriel.
Our new friends, Frank and Muriel, because apparently the trailer that Muriel loves so much has a flat tire.
John said sarcastically.
That's right. And so this part was great because the two of them they're pulled over on the side of the road, better than the guy with the other flat tire in the beginning of the episode. They didn't have the ass end of the trailer blocking traffic.
Yeah, this is how you should pull over.
They pulled over on the side of the road, and the two of them are like slinkying down the side of the trailer like in a really bad spy movie.
Well, it's a lot of trailer and not a lot of shoulder, so I get it. Well, but why are you going as far back and forth as you are? I don't get it.
Like what I would have, even if the flat was on that side, I still would have gotten off. I would have gotten off the road, get on the shoulder, and then try to flag down help.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously this is before cell phones, so they couldn't just dial 911. They could have flagged somebody down, maybe have one of them, have like maybe Muriel stay with the rig, and then the husband goes and gets help or gets driven to a gas station or, whatever they were going to do. But no, they have to, spy movie style, slinky down the side, facing oncoming traffic. And, and then of course Frank is like, he finally realizes this after they're 2/3 of the way down. He's like, oh, by the way, maybe my wife shouldn't be doing this with me. And he says, hey, why don't you get on the trailer, you get on the shoulder, and I'm going to go try and get help.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to this house across the street, which across the street was across like 6 lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, fine. She goes over to the side and take us through this sequence because this was ridiculous.
So Frank is looking at traffic. He sees what he thinks is a lull in traffic and takes that as an opportunity to Frogger style run across this major highway.
Right.
So he misjudges the oncoming car, goes to kind of do like a little juke move to avoid it. The car in front of him slams on the brakes, kind of does a 90-degree turn at him, like power slides into Frank, but Frank is still trying to do that juke move to get out of the way. The camera does a close-up on his feet, and he
just happens to find a little pool of spilt fuel or whatever.
Yeah, he slips on oil in a very funny way and falls down flat on his face.
Like we're talking Ice Capade's reject.
And what was funny to me is that all the cars just kind of pile up behind him, behind the first car.
Right.
And inexplicably, one car decides to just suddenly pull off onto the shoulder and then drive up the shoulder and drive up on, and this is an editing issue.
Right.
There's a ramp behind Muriel's trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Frank and Muriel's trailer.
Yeah.
And this car drives up this ramp and blows through the back of the trailer all the way from back to front and lands in the back of Frank's pickup truck, and there is a fiery explosion.
Was there an explosion?
To me, there was an explosion. I actually want to. I'm gonna go back to that.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing an explosion, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were, based on the ridiculousness of that sequence. But you could tell even when you're watching a car chase or something, you can tell when there's a ramp. When a car goes up, up and to the side or something like that, you can totally tell that it was there. But what made no sense to me is, how can that be explained outside of the realm of shooting for a TV show? If a trailer is pulled off on the side of the road, and you're driving down the road, there's not going to be something that's going to, that your car's going to go up and into the trailer. If anything, your car's going to hit the bumper of the trailer, and maybe damage the back and take a lot of that damage in the car, that hit the trailer. So there's just no real world or logical explanation for that.
I understand swerving down the shoulder. I've done it a few times myself.
Oh, yeah,
to,
me too.
To avoid accidents and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm braking.
Right.
I'm tapping and pumping the brake so I can slow down. This car pulled over to the shoulder to
And
avoid an
sped up.
accident and sped up into...
Clearly the maneuver of a skilled stunt driver about to hit a ramp.
Awful.
Yeah. Horrible. Yeah. Bad editing right there.
It was very, very funny, though. I was shocked that happened.
Me too. We both exclaimed when that happened. We were like, what?
Yeah. This show is just full of surprises.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is a show I want to revisit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we go to commercial break, and now we get back, and Baker's on the scene. We learn Frank is okay. He just kind of stumbled on his goo that he found and did his little escapades maneuver on. And I thought this was ridiculous. The guy that was in the car that went through the trailer does a Dukes of Hazzard and climbs out the window and falls on the ground.
Yeah, Baker comes up to him and says, stay where you are. We don't know if you're hurt. We don't know what's going on. Stay where you are. And the guy's like, oh, fuck that. I'm out of here. And he just wiggles out of the car.
See, they got to call the guys from Squad 51 to come down there and help him out.
Yeah. Obviously, there's somebody in need of a balloon neck brace.
Yeah, exactly. But or the jaws of life potentially, you know. But and then we see them talking to Muriel and Frank, and Frank is like, "Oh my goodness, look at the trailer! Everything is destroyed." Muriel has this huge smile on her face.
She loves it.
She absolutely loves it.
She loves her husband's misery.
She is. I mean, this is Schadenfreude at its best. One of my favorite words. You know what it is, right?
Not at all.
Okay, so Schadenfreude is basically a German word that means taking pleasure in someone else's misery.
That's the definition of Muriel in this show.
Yeah, completely. So, so now we're back at Mr. Evans's house, who was the guy sailing the RV from the previous scene.
You pointed this out to me. I thought this was a different person altogether.
I could see that because it seemed like it was a different person.
His haircut, well, this is because he's not dressed up in a suit and he's at home now. His hair looked like it was a different cut. In addition to that, not wearing the big wide-framed 80s glasses that he was wearing in the first scene.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, this was clearly terrible editing and terrible plot development. Because between him selling the RV, and we don't even know if this is the same day, a different week, a different month. You know, he's apparently gotten a haircut and gotten vision corrective surgery. You know,
they're glamour glasses.
Yeah,
he's wearing. At the time they were in style, I suppose, but
a lot had changed in that 3 minutes, you know, or whatever. But I mean, you said he was a different person. I contested that because I thought it was the same person. Because I was just thinking about it purely from a plot standpoint. Why would there was no explanation when they were looking at the RV. The guy, Mr. Evans, was talking about it like he owned it.
Yeah.
Why, so there was no, like when Evans was saying, oh, well, my employer owns this, my boss owns this, my brother owns this, there was none of that. So I was led to believe that the two guys, the arsonists, were being shown that by the owner. And then they were over at the owner's house talking about how, he can get paid from insurance and then pay them for burning it down and blah, blah, blah. So, like, I couldn't see from a plot standpoint how that could have been somebody else.
Yeah,
yeah. But I can see from a visual standpoint, it looked like somebody else because he wasn't wearing his glasses. He had a different haircut and he was wearing a different shirt and a different wardrobe. So, there were just not enough similarities.
So in the first scene, they were bringing up, hey, we're interested in buying this. In the second scene, they're like, we're going to buy this, but we don't really want this. We're going to burn it down. You'll
get paid from your insurance and you can pay us for it.
So hang on. So they originally, in the first scene, they were potential buyers, and Mr. Evans was like, all right, yeah, these guys want to buy my RV? Hell yeah. Here's my number. Here are the terms of the sale. Contact me if you're interested. The second scene, they come up and they kind of flip the script and they pitch something completely different.
Right.
We actually want to pay you to burn this down. We get a cut of of burning it down, you get the insurance money.
Right.
Okay. All right. So it still wasn't clear to me until just now, until after talking through it.
Yeah. No, and I feel like that's too much work to have to go through and put that together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like in the moment, you know, it should have been more obvious in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so this guy, he's not really feeling it, but the two guys kind of convince him by talking about some of the other stuff that he's done before. And they're saying, well, you know, based on the other things you've done, like extortion and blah, 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 you know, ripping off your insurance company just makes sense to add to the list.
They're kind of innocuous. I mean, they're still not good, but they bring up, they talk him into agreeing to the scheme by saying, you own a business, right? Yeah, I own a business. Do you ever, you know, inflate your tax returns? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Did you ever testify for somebody? Yeah. Was it for a friend? Yeah. Did you ever, you know, stretch the truth a bit for your buddy? Yeah. I mean, I just told a few white lies, but it's my buddy. He's was fighting the phone company. So they bring up a couple. I mean, those are serious.
They're certainly more than innocuous. That's for sure.
Yeah, they are. They are. But still, they talk him into
agreeing to this that he clearly wasn't feeling it from the beginning. So
yeah,
it was totally a con. Mm-hmm. You know, but now we're over at the RV lot because obviously now we know he's bought into it. So now these guys are going to make an attempt, and we see this dumpy looking security guard lets himself into Evans's RV with his lunch, which I take a huge issue with this.
Yeah, dude. Well, we find out later that he's hired by the Evans. He wasn't just the lot guy.
Are you sure? I thought he was I would thought he was there managing the whole lot.
Well,
which would make sense.
He is, however, later on in the episode when he's almost dead, or when he's passed out,
right.
Mrs. Evans says we paid him to watch our RV.
But that may not be clear because they could have been paying
him extra to keep an extra eye on it.
That, or they could have, you know, that could have been included in their rental of the space in the RV storage lot. You know, if the RV storage lot says, well, you can pay us $50 a month to park your RV here, which includes a guard. So they're saying we're paying for you to be responsible for our RV.
That makes sense. The way I understood it is now that we're talking through it doesn't really make sense at all. But the way I understood it was the Evanses are paying the security guy to watch their RV when in reality they are paying for the storage service of storing it in this lot, which has the added benefit of a security guard.
Right.
They could store it on any old storage lot,
right,
which may or may not have a security guard.
Right.
But this lot has the benefit of a security guard.
Right. Which I think makes more sense because why would you know, what would be so special about their RV to the point where they would want to hire someone to specifically watch their RV?
Right.
You know, like that wouldn't make any sense, number one. But number two, if they had enough money to pay one person to literally spend their entire day in a lot watching their RV, which they wouldn't have to sell it.
Yeah.
You know, like there'd be disposable income. It's like, yeah, let's just pay a guy, you know, $50,000 a year to watch our RV, you know? So like I don't think the money would have been an issue to where they would have to sell it.
Yeah. To circle back around to your point, your original point, I take issue with, and I'm curious as to how he gets into the Evans' RV, because he goes in there with his lunch, eats his lunch and
then goes to sleep.
And then goes to sleep on their bed.
Right. He had a key.
He did have a key to their RV. Why did he have a key to... Does he have keys to other people's RVs? Is this...
That wasn't clear, but it looked like... And we could always look at the episode again. It looked like the key ring he had a number of other keys on it.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he just picked that one at random, or he went into that RV, for whatever reason.
One of the keys he has is to unlock the front gate.
Right.
Once the cops show up, they get the key ring. They try a bunch of keys until they get the right one, so they can open the gate so the paramedics can come in.
Right.
But
so in theory, those other keys could have been the other keys to the
other RVs.
Yeah.
Why does he have access to his customers' RVs though? What if I want to store my porn or my dildos in my RV? I don't need the security guard snooping around inside of my personal property. The RV is being stored there, but the contents of it are mine. Stay out of my fucking RV.
I agree. But I could also see from the other side of things if, like, because some of those RVs were trailers and some of them were, motorhomes. If there was a need for one to be moved in order for another one to get out, I could see there being a reason for them to have a key to get into it. The fact that he uses it is just inexcusable.
For what he's using it for.
Yeah, it's not his personal break room.
Yeah.
He should have had a little hut that he could have sit in, or something like that. Some sort of provision for him to, like, a workspace, but no reason for him to go sit in the RV and do whatever he wants. That's just stupid.
Somebody comes to pick up their RV. They go inside and it's like, honey, does it smell like jizz in here? Has the security guy been jerking off in my RV? What the fuck?
Now would have been a good time for the woman moaning sound.
Yes, it would have been. But before we get too far ahead of this, the security guard falls asleep in the RV, and one of my favorite sequences is the burners show up. They're riding around in the van, and they stop. One guy gets out. He climbs up onto the back of the van and climbs up to the roof. So that's a little late.
Shut up.
A little late. But so they drive past the fence, and the guy riding on the roof jumps over the fence onto an RV, which great stunt work.
Yeah.
He runs along the top of these RVs until he gets to the right one. He runs forward.
The security guard hears this.
What's going on? Why are you on the roof? So the guy on the roof leans down, hammers out the windshield, throws a bomb in there.
Right.
Stands back up, runs across other RVs, and jumps back over the fence onto the roof of the van, which has circled back around.
Right.
Thought it brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved how that was coordinated. Loved how that went down. I was really into it.
Yeah. Then we found that the bomb was kind of a dud.
It was
and
a
it turned
dud.
into more of a smoke bomb than anything else.
I said to you, is that dynamite? Did he just throw dynamite in?
It looked like it. Which
would have been fantastic because this pervert security guard would have been exploded. And,
right.
I thought it would have been great. But no, it's a dud. It turns out to be just a big smoke bomb instead.
Right.
Somebody calls the cops. The cops show up. They jump over the fence and bravely, because I was expecting the RV to blow up at any moment.
Me too. Yeah, this was really bizarre. And
yeah.
I don't know what the proper procedure would be. I guess it makes sense that it makes sense that the cops, they see somebody in there, so the first priority is to get them out. But, without knowing whether or not that thing was going to go off, that's a huge risk.
Yeah, very, very brave of them to just go up and immediately go to work, getting into the RV,
right,
busting out the rest of the windows, getting the security guy out.
Definitely CHiPS at their finest.
Yeah. They pull the security guard out. They get his keys. They let the paramedics in. And it's never really on fire. It's never really blows up because we find out it's a dud. But I was actually kind of surprised that they only dragged the security guard a few feet away from the van, from the RV.
Yeah, because I was fully expecting the thing to go up as soon as they pulled the guard out. You know, typical Hollywood, get them to safety only just. Mm-hmm. Get them to safety only just, and then boom, it just goes up in huge flames.
Right.
But such is not the case here.
No. Yeah, so they do that. Then they Then the next scene is the burners call Mr. Evans and they say, hey, turns out the bomb didn't go off. We're sorry. We're going to keep at this.
We'll try it again in a month or so when the dust settles.
Yeah, just be cool. We'll get this done for you. Mr. Evans is like, no, don't call my house anymore. I don't want any part of this. You guys suck. I don't want anything to do.
Deals off. Yeah. And then at this point, his wife gets home.
Yes.
And he tells the worst lie right now.
I love this, but I hate this at the same time.
Yeah.
She comes in. She's like, who is that, honey? You look like you're upset. And he's like, oh, that was a security guy from the RV place. A little bit of vandalism. Our RV's messed up. You stay here. I'm going to go and get it. She's like, no, somebody messed with our RV. I'm coming with you.
Right.
So he's like, I guess. All right. So they go. They head down to the RV lot, and they pull up in their car, and he says, honey, wait in the car. I'll do the talking. Let me handle this. She says, no, I'm coming out with you. I want to find out what's going on. My name's on the pink slip for this thing, too.
Right.
And he yells at her.
More domestic violence.
He yelled at her in a way that made me fear for her safety.
Me too.
Thought he was going to...
Didn't you grab her arm, too?
I don't know if he grabbed her. It looked like he raised his arm, like he was about to backslap her, but it may have just been raising his hand just to make a point.
Right. But either way, so the two of them get out, and they go over and start talking to the cops. And did she throw him under the bus?
She sure did.
Okay.
Several times. And he kept saying, shut the fuck up, honey. Shut the fuck up. She's like, oh, yeah, we know because the security guard just called my husband. He talked to him about like 10, 15 minutes ago. No, I didn't. I talked to the dispatcher.
And you can see the cops getting pissed because they can see that the husband is lying through his teeth.
Yeah, but the wife just won't shut the hell up. Just shut up. Let him do the talking. But I wanted her to shut up because I wanted him to get away with it because, he was suckered.
Why did you want him to get away with it?
Because he was suckered into this. I just did.
Yeah.
I just did. I really did. I can't justify it. I can't justify it.
Fuck justification. Who cares?
He shouldn't get away with it. He shouldn't, but I wanted him to.
Fair enough.
He wanted to.
Fair enough. So then the cop is getting pissed, and the cop goes, how long ago did you talk to the watchman? And they're like, about 10, 15 minutes ago. Why? Because the watchman's been in a coma.
Yeah, because he had a coronary.
Yeah. So obviously he just, and this is where Evans loses it. And he's like, I made a mistake. Oh my God. Like, okay, dude, you're done.
Hugging his wife.
You're done. So now we're over at the police station, and now we have all these mysterious details have come to light, clearly because Ray Evans, he talked, gave the police all they wanted to know. Oh, yeah, it's a guy named Tom Dempsey and Andy Whitman. Those are the two guys that you want to look for, blah, 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 blah. And then come to find out, because he's sort of an accessory in this, they find out if the watchman dies, Evans will get charged with murder 1.
Yes.
That
pretty
sucks.
Heavy stuff. Yeah.
That sucks. Yeah. He should have gone with his gut. And, even when these guys were threatening to blackmail him or, whatever it was, take that risk, dude, because it's much easier to deal with, those sort of white collar crimes than, because he, for what they were talking to him about, he might have had to pay a couple $1,000 in fines.
Yeah,
right?
We didn't talk about this,
right.
But when the second scene where the arsonists are talking to Mr. Evans, they're pretty much having him talk about things that he's done, lying on his taxes, perjuring, whatever. They're kind of implying that, hey, if you don't go along with us, we're going to use this against you.
Right.
We didn't really cover that, but that's what the implication was.
Right, exactly.
So go along with us on this arson thing. You're going to get lots of money, but if you don't, you just admitted to all these crimes.
Right, but unless they were recording the conversation or something, it's one person's word against someone else's.
Yeah.
So who knows how much that would hold up anyway.
But dumb Mr. Evans just kind of went along with it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want that to come out, so I better do what I got to do. Anyway, let's see where we're at now. Okay, so
we're back to Frank and Muriel.
Oh, Frank and Muriel at it again. with some more shenanigans.
So and this is where we find out that Frank may have a bit more money than I had thought anyway, because he just goes off and he rents a new trailer.
And he apparently bought a new truck too.
It was the same truck.
It was a different truck. It was a blue truck. His original truck was white. Go look at it. I'll bet money on it.
I don't want to bet money on it, but let's pause for a moment.
I'll bet you an alcoholic beverage.
All right, okay.
His original truck was white. The truck that he now had was blue, because pulling the rental rig was blue. Because think about it, the first truck had a car, land in the bed of it. It was ruined.
Yeah, it's a white truck.
And then like a white and blue trailer at first. The new one was a blue truck and a white and tan trailer.
Yeah, dude, you got it. It's I owe
Don't
you.
Don't ever doubt me again.
And this is where we find out that I find that Frank has more money than I thought that he had.
Right. Somehow he came upon a new truck. We don't know if it's a leased truck, a brand new truck. He got it used, stole it from somebody. We don't know. But we do learn that he rented another trailer.
He did rent a new trailer. I go out on a limb and say he bought a new truck.
I would say that.
Yeah.
I would say so.
But yeah, so we have a new truck, we have a new rented trailer, and Frank comes up to it, knocks on the door. Hey, Muriel, you're in there?
Now,
How about this new trailer?
Now, what the hell is Muriel doing inside of a trailer that he was pulling? It is so illegal.
That she would obviously hate.
Yes, it is so illegal, so beyond illegal to have somebody traveling in a trailer while it's being pulled.
Yeah, because they have or if that thing comes unhitched and swerves up, they're dead.
Yeah, no seatbelts, no nothing. So like, just it's so beyond illegal.
Right.
And he's knocking on the door. Hey, honey, let me in. Honey, let me in. And no answer. So he lets himself in. Muriel.
Yeah. So
she's gone.
She's gone. Next scene, she's hitchhiking down the side of the road. So she couldn't bear the fact that all of this money is wasted on a new truck and a newly rented trailer. She'd rather walk to Disneyland.
Right.
Or hitch to Disneyland. So
right.
that's what she does. She just can't stand that Frank's going to get what he wants.
Right.
So she's off on her own, and who saddles up beside her but John Baker.
Right. And he pulls up. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was just saying Chip. That John Baker.
Yeah, John Baker. He pulls up alongside her, and she's saying, "Oh, is this the way to Disneyland?" And he recognizes her from the previous bit with the car crashing through that trailer and everything. And he's saying, "Do you want me to help you find your husband?" Blah blah blah. And she goes, "Oh, I got the checkbook. What do I need him for?"
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Whose checking account is it though?
Yeah, no one knows. It could be theirs. It could be just hers. Who knows?
Maybe if it's a joint checking account, you better check yourself, Muriel.
Right. Now, I had an issue with this because when Baker first shows up to her location, she hates her husband, doesn't want anything to do with it. She's done with him, doesn't care. Then he says, "Do you want me to help you find your husband?" She's like, "No, not really." And then Frank comes driving past them on the oncoming opposite side of the street, and she has this huge grin on her face.
She loves to see him all of a sudden.
She changes her tune in the span of 30 seconds. So, and now, instead of like, "Fuck you, Frank, I don't ever want to see you again," it's like, "I can't wait to fuck you, Frank."
So he pulls up, parks on the shoulder on the opposite side of the highway. He gets out of the truck and, Terminator style, walks across the road, causing more cars to slam on their brakes and skid around him, but he doesn't react.
No.
He just walks straight up to him, and the fucking cop, Baker, just sits there and lets it happen.
Yeah. I mean, clearly that's jaywalking, and it's endangering lives of other people. I'm sure there's a dozen laws that he probably just broke, but Baker lets this slide, and I'm going to go with Frank just strolling across the street. aggressively because he was pissed. But he just like, oh, I don't care if cars are coming. I'm just going to stroll my leisurely way across the street.
Doesn't react to cars just screeching and swerving around him.
Right.
So he comes up to Muriel, and he doesn't threaten her in any way. But to me, there is a hint of domestic violence.
Oh,
just
yeah.
right around the edges.
Don't you ever do that to me again.
Pointing his finger in her face.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Never again.
Frank.
Just completely submissive.
Oh, Frank, I love you. Oh, I'll never run away on you again. Oh.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
And then Frank is, when I looked in that trailer and I didn't see you, I aged 20 years. And I was like, no, dude.
So now you're 100?
Yeah. You aged 20 years the moment the episode began. But,
yeah, so she's into it now. She's probably going to get it later. Frank's going to take out his frustrations on Muriel sexually once they get to Disneyland or wherever. He did say that he he did say that he rented trailer space at Disneyland, which kind of placated her a bit as well.
Yeah, he kind of made up for it, I guess.
Yeah, so not only am I going fishing, but I'll also take you to Disneyland where you can spend the rest of my money.
Right, exactly. What's left of it.
Right.
But so now we're over at the Evans house. He's on the phone with the Burners, and and then basically he's got to be in an awkward place now because he's already blabbed to the cops. So he's got to play along. He's got to make it sound like he hasn't told the cops a thing.
Right.
So, once he hangs up, because basically the Burners are saying, we're gonna have another go at your trailer. You're going to have another go at your RV. Just kind of letting you know, blah, blah, blah.
Which
and
seems
he's like,
pretty soon.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, that's fine. So they hang up the phone, and then he says to his wife, I'm going to go next door to call the cops, which I found a little weird, but then he explained it. He said, so if the Burners call me back, the phone line's not busy. So I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Maybe,
it does, yeah. Maybe
call waiting didn't exist back then or something. But anyway, now the cops are staking out the RV lot.
Right. How much time has passed? Because if these arsonist guys,
I don't think there was any respect to time.
There was no respect to time because
not a bit.
If these guys were any kind of professional, they would be all right. So we failed the first time.
They would lay low.
Yeah, they would lay low for at least a month.
Easily.
Yeah, or more, but
it feels like they went back at it later that day.
We haven't even had the basketball game that has been talked about since the beginning of the episode.
Right.
So
I have a feeling this is all one day.
Oh my God.
Because we start with the two guys walking in, kind of figure maybe it's the morning of their shift.
Oh, you know what? It's 2 days. This takes place in the span of 2 days because at the beginning of the episode when Ponch is talking to Baker in the locker room, he says, I'm
taking 2 days off.
I'm taking 2 days off.
Right, I got it. Okay. That makes sense.
But still, you're so dumb. You're so dumb to call him back with the next day, let's say.
Yeah.
And try to hit the RV again.
What an idiot. So, but this time they are not as clever, and the cops catch him in the act.
I've got a question for you before, but yes, this happens. But I have a question about this though.
Yeah.
Is this them hitting the same RV?
Yes.
Okay, which is still dumb.
Because now Evans is in cahoots with the police.
Yes.
Helping them catch the criminal at the expense of him losing his RV.
Yeah, I because they were dumb enough. I just didn't think they were dumb enough to hit the same RV again. So I was under the assumption that they have a couple irons in the fire at the same time.
Apparently not.
No, they're only just working with one case at a time.
Right.
Because how would you be so dumb as to go back to the scene of the crime the next day and try to hit the same thing again? Yeah,
that makes no sense at all.
Cops were there. Did they not know the cops were there?
They had to have. Oh
my God.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, if they make an attempt to destroy this RV and the attempt fails, obviously the owner is going to contact the cops and see see what they're going to do about it, because it would be even more suspicious if he didn't.
Right.
So they make the second attempt. The police are there. They catch him in the act, and the bomber, instead of tossing it into the RV, they toss the bomb on the police car.
Which I love that.
Oh yeah. Which kind of looks more like a Molotov cocktail.
It was, yeah, because he said back to basics.
Right.
We're not gonna mess around with faulty fuses and stuff this time.
Right, exactly. Right. So now there's this epic car and motorcycle chase between Baker and Dempsey in the van, who goes on runs away from the other guy. He basically leaves the other guy at the RV lot to be arrested.
Right.
He leaves him for dead. So. And then, of course, there's the, driving through the streets, weaving in and out of traffic. And then, of course, the van decides to go through a construction site, which just happens to be chock full of stunt ramps, and hits a random ramp, flips over. And then 2 more cars randomly hit hidden stunt ramps and
out of nowhere.
Flip over. Unnecessary.
Why?
Unnecessary.
Why were they weren't... the van was running cars off the road, which is what you would expect in a car chase.
Sure.
But who's going to follow this van through a construction zone and hit 2 different ramps? Well, that was one of my notes too. Where did these other cars come from?
Yeah, I almost feel like the director ran out of stuff that they shot, and they were like, "Oh well, these 2 cars were used in this other episode. Let's just stick this footage in there so it looks like the van ran them off."
More likely, there's a lot of extraness in this episode, and I feel like they were far under budget. So let's just spend the rest of our money on a couple of other car flips. Yeah.
Let's just shoot a whole bunch of B-roll, and then we can use it, because I have a feeling that, I wouldn't be surprised if they've used those 2 cars randomly, jumping over stuff and whatnot. They probably used it in another episode.
Wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me at all. Especially we've talked about. I know on the emergency episode we talked about a heavy use of stock footage.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of that here too. Because obviously, money probably wasn't in as great supply in that industry back then, so they probably had to make use of any kind of, budget stretching techniques they could do.
Mm-hmm.
So that being the case, ridiculousness. And then the van is over on its side and
flattened, actually, because it looked like one of the cars. So the cops come over and they pull him out.
Right, the van was flipped on its side.
Yes.
And then this is a classic example of terrible dialogue. The arsonist is going, "I don't want to burn, get me out of here." And then one of the cops goes, "Oh, we got a professional burner who hates fire." And then Baker looks at him and goes, "You better get used to the fire, because there's going to be a lot of heat." Oh my God.
Awful.
Terrible.
They pulled him out of the van, though, and the shots that they chose was a head-on shot of the van on its side, but it didn't look like the van. It looked like, if it was a van, it was pancaked.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was still the van, because they pulled him out of the van. They showed him getting pulled out of the van.
They did. It was just weird.
Yeah. So now we're finally at the basketball game.
Yes. The highlight of the whole episode.
Right. And everybody's wondering, where's Ponch?
The reason we're all watching.
Yeah. Now, quick question, though. Was Ponch responsible for setting up the opposing team?
He was not, to my knowledge.
Okay, I wasn't sure, because
Grossi was setting up the lineup of the cop team.
Right, Grossi was the coach.
Yeah.
Or, a self-appointed coach. But, I don't remember who was responsible for setting up the game itself, or, the opposing team. I don't remember that.
When Ponchy finally came in, it looked like he had undermined the coach's lineup and set up his own lineup from other cops from other precincts.
I didn't even notice that.
Because he came in, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're the only precinct that doesn't have anybody over 7 foot." You remember that line?
Yes.
So
yes.
He spent 2 days
recruiting.
from other precincts.
I got it.
Which completely undermined Grossi's original lineup, because he was putting the captain on this position, Ponchy was going to alternate the guard position.
Right.
He set the lineup, but then 2 days later, Ponchy shows up with other cops from the precincts.
Okay.
Taking over, just completely changing the lineup.
Right.
The opposing team, however, I have no idea who set them up, but they were not underprivileged children.
They were a circus troupe.
They were a circus troupe, which looked suspiciously like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Right. I did a little bit of research, though. They are the King Charles troupe. They are an actual unicycle basketball team.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
They are the King Charles troupe. They are an actual unicycle basketball team.
All right.
They have a website and all. and I thought it was the Globetrotters, but what made me think it wasn't the Globetrotters though was because the Globetrotters, I've seen them perform a couple of times. They have some signature things, and they're almost always performing to Sweet Georgia Brown. You know, like that music is always playing. The whistling song, you know, that's always playing when they're doing their thing and like spinning the balls on their finger and all that stuff. And I don't think I've ever seen the Harlem Globetrotters perform without that music. So I thought it would have been uncharacteristic for them to be doing that. And I thought that when they finally identified them, they said, "Oh, that's the circus troupe from
Barnum and Bailey."
Yeah, the King Charles troupe. I Googled it, and sure enough, I found their website. I found, you know, they had a couple of other television appearances. Also, I think they were on Letterman.
Oh, they're a real thing.
They're a real thing.
Wow,
bona fide real thing, real deal. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was cool.
Oh, totally cool.
Yeah, I would go and see this.
I would. You know, I mean, I'm not really a big sports guy, but I can see the entertainment value there. You know, the one thing I wondered, why were they playing? Why were there temporary basketball nets set up in a gym with professionally hung basketball nets?
Yes.
At the same height.
So these look like children's hoops. They were maybe about, would you say, 7-8 feet tall?
They were the same height as the backboards in the room.
They were?
They were.
They didn't seem that tall. They seem shorter to me.
I thought they were the same height, but maybe
regardless.
Screw fact checking.
We have fuck fact checking. We have 2 standalone basketball hoops, not even of the same quality as like your driveway.
No, they look like little tykes.
Yeah, exactly how I would describe it. Little tyke basketball nets that were stood up on poles.
Right.
And the cops took this seriously at first. They were trying to play, they were trying to defend, but these already 6-7 foot basketball players are on unicycles.
So they're like 10 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
So like just no chance. So then, you know, then I had a note of this. Apparently, like the game became a King Charles troupe performance instead of a game.
And the cops, all good-naturedly about it, they all went to the sidelines and sat down and enjoyed the performance along with everybody else in the audience.
Yeah, which makes sense.
I gotta tell you though, there was a gratuitous amount of crotch and butt shots. There were a ton of them.
Yeah.
I saw some dick outlines. One of the girls on
I hope you didn't see a dick outline on the girl.
No, I did not. I was looking for one because it would have been so fucking hot. I was looking for one, but her shorts, a little bit of cheek was hanging out. But
maybe the same cameraman from Sequest was working on this.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. Gratuitous amount of lower pelvic region shots.
Yeah, and they had typical 80s basketball uniforms, a la Boston Celtics, Larry Bird era, Michael Jordan era. The short shorts, and the tank top, the
jerseys.
Yeah, tank top jerseys.
Now, did you notice Baker and Ponch's numbers? They were number 3 and 4.
So Baker was 3, Poncho was 4?
I believe so, or the other way around. But those correspond to their call sign numbers.
Officer 3, Officer 4?
No, that's it was in the IMDb trivia for the episode. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second.
I did not look at that.
according to IMDb, on the trivia for this episode, Home Fire's Burning, at the final basketball game, John and Ponch wear game jerseys with their call sign numbers on them. John with a 3 for 7 Marry 3, and Ponch with a 4 for 7 Marry 4. None of the other characters have a jersey with a corresponding ID number.
Interesting.
Yep. So, nice little useless info. So, the game concludes and everything, and now we're back at the station, potentially the next day, because now Ponch is back in uniform, back at work.
Right.
We learn that the watchman from the RV storage is going to be out of intensive care. Sounds like he's going to make it. He's going to be okay.
Resolving the Mr. Evans storyline. He's not going to jail for murder, but
Thank
he
goodness.
may be going to jail for insurance fraud and arson.
Right. And then we find out the arsonists have been confessing to a whole bunch of other stuff, so they're not going to be seeing the light of day for a while.
Right.
And then I guess people were calling out Grossi for the game that was essentially a shit show.
Yeah, I didn't like that game at all. I know Ponchi was good-natured about it, and he had a good time at the game, but I would expect him to want a competition where he would win. So.
Right, but you also mentioned he didn't like to lose, so he was going to do whatever he could to stack the deck in his favor.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't a legit game, I think he was okay with it, because nobody won, nobody lost, actually just turned out to be an excuse for a performance.
Yeah, so, I guess it was the best scenario possible, yet still a shit show.
Yeah.
But to me, the worst part of the entire... Well, I don't want to say it that way. So now the episode is just about to end.
Yeah.
And, pretty much everybody telling Grossi that it was a shit show. That was like the last thing of the episode. And then we go into this sort of final 30-second sequence where the theme music starts to kind of come in. And then there's these glamour shot freeze frames at the end that I could have totally done without.
Yeah, Grossi, everyone kind of laughs him out of the office because Grossi's like, well, who set this up? It's like, well, the captain set it up. You got something to say to the captain about it? And Grossi's just like, I guess not. It was good for everybody. And he does this, like
a grimace almost.
Grimace lip pout. And the camera kind of zooms in slightly and freeze frames on his face. And I was like, all right, roll credits. But no, everybody starts laughing, and they do a shot of the captain. And the captain's laughing, hands on hips, having a good time. And then freeze frame. Zoom in on his face just a little bit, and then we get a shot of Ponchi, Eric Estrada.
Freeze frame.
Same thing. Shot of John Baker.
Freeze frame.
Same thing. What the
hell
are you
is
doing?
this?
What are you doing?
Yeah, and then I think we finally fade out, and then credits roll or whatever
Then
it was.
roll credits.
What the hell was that last 30 seconds? I think this further supports the argument that this episode... what was the runtime? 48 minutes?
It was
44 minutes?
Yeah.
They probably shot 35 minutes, and they needed to fill some of that extra space with random crap. And they said, oh, damn it, we're 30 seconds short. Let's just do some crazy freeze frames at the end. Now, I don't know if they do this at the end of other episodes, too. Oh, God, I hope not. But
I hope so.
Well, yeah,
because it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. But, despite all the freeze frames, then we got...
Yeah. Then we roll credits, and then
we bring on the funk and
yes.
roll the credits. So, extremely entertaining episode, that's for sure.
Yes.
But now my favorite part: highlights and lowlights.
Right on.
So for me, if you couldn't guess, the highlight, which you nailed, was the music. Just the fact that random bouts of funk just came out, during your cruising moments and whatnot. I could roll with that all day.
This is the disco era. It's of course they would have this kind of music, and as a show that ran as long as it did, and it was as popular as it was.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, and if I don't see myself as someone that would ride a motorcycle, but I haven't ruled out the idea of doing it.
I can see you on a motorcycle.
I'm on the fence, but I'm probably still going to go do the training for it just to experience it. But if I ever do buy a motorcycle, it's going to be a Harley, definitely 100%. My brother's got a Harley; it's a beautiful bike. I'm going to buy a Harley for sure if I get into motorcycling and everything. But I don't think I can get behind the whole badass rock music motorcycle person.
I can see you on a chopper.
It
Tall
for me, motorcycling is going to be all about, like the funk, funk in the background, like cruising down the highway with my sunglasses on and shit,
Yeah.
Like me riding a motorcycle with just shit like that in the background, like I can't do the whole, born to be wild motorcycle thing. That's just not me. I'm going to be all about like CHiPS era, CHiPS era, motorcycling, but who knows what the future holds. But what about you? What is your highlight of the show?
This was an interesting episode for me because I came across something, marked it as a highlight, came across something else. Oh, that's a good highlight too. And then I have more than one thing as my highlights. So
you can have more than one.
I'm going to name you what I found to be highlights and then give you my final choice.
Okay.
The last car chase, as ridiculously as it ended with random cars also flipping and crashing, really like that. I thought that was well done. The van running other cars off the road, the whole chase. I liked it. I thought it was well put together. My other highlight was the first car wreck where Frank runs into the middle of the road, falls down, calls the pileup, and then that white car blows through the trailer and explodes.
Yep.
That was another highlight. But my number one highlight of the entire episode was the first arson prank, or the second arson job, where they go for Mr. Evans's RV.
Okay.
Andy gets out of the van. The van starts to pull away. As it pulls away, he grabs a ladder on the back, scurries up it, shimmies along the roof of the van, jumps the barbed wire fence onto an RV, runs across roofs of RVs, throws a bomb into the target.
So that whole sequence.
Runs across the other roofs, jumps back onto the moving van, and gets away. I love that. So very well coordinated.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was.
I support that.
Yeah, I really love that. One of my favorite part of the episode.
All right, the low light.
The lowlights, same thing. I have several things that I found to be lowlights in this episode.
Okay.
I'm going to name them off, and I'm going to end with my number one lowlight.
All right.
The first one was the freeze frame on the cops at the end.
Yep.
As much as it made me laugh and I liked it, it took me out of the episode. I thought it was ridiculous and unnecessary.
No glamour shot freeze frame is ever going to make any sense in any show.
I didn't like it.
Neither
So
did
that
I.
was that was like a low light. It wasn't. It was low on my low light.
That was like
list.
a subterranean low light.
My next one was the lack of Estrada. There wasn't enough Eric goddamn Estrada in this episode.
I warned you about that before we watched the episode, by the way.
You did. But
so just putting that on record there.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, I wanted more Estrada. So yeah, that was another low light.
Yeah.
Frank and Muriel were on there as well. The bickering relationship kind of deal. The episode could have gone without that whole plot point. It wasn't lighthearted enough for me. It didn't do anything for me. I could have done without that.
I kind of feel like there was a lack of cohesion in this episode.
Yeah, there's too busy. There was too much going on.
Yeah.
My number one low light, the basketball game.
Really?
The goddamn basketball game. I hated it when it devolved into the St. Charles basketball troupe. When they brought out the King Charles. When they brought out the unicycles, that was it for me. Done.
Okay.
I'm done. It went on way too long. I appreciate that kind of performance art. I don't want that in my cop shows though. I don't need that.
And if you're going to a game expecting a game, then that's what you should see. If you're going to a basketball performance or something, it's a different story.
So these cops didn't know that this was going to happen.
Evidently not.
But the audience, did they buy tickets knowing that they were going to come see the King Charles?
I don't know, but if I were in the audience and expecting a game and I saw that, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I wanted to see like a legit basketball game.
Right.
If I wanted to see the Harlem Globetrotters or the King Charles Troupe, I would go out of my way to see them because I want to
Same
see
here.
them. I don't want to be surprised by this bullshit. I want to see a game between police precincts.
Right. Or I would have been okay with a game between police precincts and maybe the King Troop is there as the halftime show.
Yes,
You
I'd
know?
be into that too.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Because you'd still get the game element of it, but it would not be, it would not be something that was presented under the wrong pretense.
Yeah. But the whole sequence of events of the basketball game was my number one low light.
Gotcha.
Didn't like it. What about you, sir?
My low light, I have essentially two that I'm combining into one, and that is the element of the overabundance of cheese. Cheesy dialogue, like, for example, we got a professional arsonist who doesn't like fire. Well, you better get ready for the heat. You got cheesy production with the stupid, glamour selfies at the end, or the glamour shots at the end. The cheesy overproduction of car flips where they weren't necessary, pyrotechnics where they weren't necessary.
Yep.
There was this episode was just chock full of things that didn't belong, or that they were made to fit, and the result was just complete and unnecessary cheese. So, I can see that there's entertainment value there, but to me, it just comes off like moldy cheese. And on that note, that brings us to the end of our episode.
Yeah.
Chock full of moldy cheese.
Yeah.
But we have good moldy cheese.
We do. I have got nothing else. You got anything else?
Not a thing.
Then, yeah.
So let's wrap it up, and trust us, we are posing for our closing glamour shots as we speak, and after that, we're going to ask you to tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
Later.